Chapter 11, Part 2. So we were mentioning the central nervous system and the peripheral nervous system. So we're going to focus a little bit more on the peripheral nervous system, and then we'll move on to the central nervous system later on. So we have, when you look at the peripheral nervous system, we have sensory receptors and then we have nerves. The different types of nerves are sensory or afferent nerves or neurons, and the motor or efferent neurons. So sensory receptors are going to be what detect the stimuli, and those can be in the skin, in the eyes, the nose, the ears, and so on. Anywhere that you have the ability to sense something is going to be where you're going to have sensory receptors, at least in this relationship here that we're talking about, the PNS. And those sensory receptors are going to be connected to the sensory neurons. Okay, and that sensory or afferent neuron is going to carry that information, whatever stimuli that you picked up with the receptor. The sensory or afferent neuron will carry that back to the spinal cord. So the sensory or afferent neurons will transmit action potentials from those receptors to the central nervous system, which again consists of, the central nervous system consists of spinal cord and brain. Motor or efferent neurons transmit action potentials from the CNS to the effectors. And again, the effectors are the muscles or the glands, basically the end result of an action potential. So here it takes the information that the brain or the spinal cord decides on and sends that information out to the skeletal muscle or gland. So a lot of times the book and videos and whatnot will refer to afferent neurons or efferent neurons and not mention sensory or motor. So in order to remember that sensory is afferent and motor is efferent, I have a little mnemonic that I use to remember it, and it is S-A-M-E, same. Sensory is afferent and motor is efferent. Sensory is afferent and motor is efferent. So if you can remember same, hopefully that'll help you remember that sensory is the afferent neurons and motor is the efferent. And it's important to remember that sensory or afferent neurons carry stimuli to the CNS because it's a sense that you pick up and your brain has to decide on what it means. And then if you pick up a hot spoon and your skin, the receptors in your skin feel that hot spoon, then that information will go directly to the spinal cord through those afferent neurons, and the spinal cord in this particular case, because it's protecting you, will cause you to drop that spoon through motor or efferent neurons, through an impulse through these motor or efferent neurons. So that's just a start of all this. All right, so the motor divisions of PNS include the somatic nervous system. So those are impulses from the central nervous system to the skeletal muscles. So I don't know if I just said this right, but the somatic nervous system are impulses that come from the central nervous system to the skeletal muscles. This type of impulse is voluntary. So anytime that you think of the skeletal muscles, remember that you think about moving your skeletal muscles. You think about reading this PowerPoint with your eyes. You think about picking up your glass of water and drinking it. Those are all voluntary types of movements. So the somatic nervous system, directly associated with making skeletal muscles move, is voluntary. We have to think about it to happen. The autonomic nervous system of the ANS, the autonomic nervous system, also known as ANS, carries impulses from the central nervous system to smooth muscle and cardiac muscle as well as certain glands. And the autonomic nervous system is controlled automatically. It is involuntary. We do not think about it before it happens. We don't think about the smooth muscle found in our digestive tract digesting food. We don't think about our heart beating, and we don't think about our glands secreting certain hormones. So keep that in mind. There's various divisions of the autonomic nervous system. There is the sympathetic nervous system, which prepares the body for physical activity. There is the parasympathetic nervous system, which regulates resting functions, specifically digesting food or emptying the urinary bladder. And the enteric nervous system is directly associated with the digestive tract. So you may remember from other classes that the sympathetic nervous system is the fight or flight type of response, and the parasympathetic is the rest and digest response. So again, autonomic nervous system is automatic, subconscious, we don't think about it, and it happens in our sleep, in our wake, however, whatever needs to be done, it's handled. And there's a couple of divisions there: sympathetic, parasympathetic, and enteric. Enteric means entero is intestines, so we should know that that is related to the digestive tract. Somatic nervous system, totally separate. It's a division of the PNS as well as the autonomic, but somatic has direct relation to the skeletal muscles. All right, cells of the nervous system. We're going to pick up on this in part 3 just to have a clean break here.